Ladies and gentlemen, another guest picked some Eminem song. You know it's going to be a good episode because M's my boy. So anyways, I don't know him personally. I'm just saying that. Let's get into this show program today. We got a good episode planned for you guys. If you're thinking about real estate space stuff, this one's for you. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. All right, let's do this, ladies and gents. Let's jump into this fire intro here. Here we go. What happens when you meet someone whose core values are honor, fun, and mastery? You get one amazing episode. That's what. And today's guest embodies those values in his business, The Conscious Builder. You see, he doesn't just talk about it, he is about it. So when he became a dad, he decided to put fear aside and become his own source of revenue. So let's find out how he did it. Welcome to the show, the founder and CEO of The Conscious Builder, Casey Gray. Oh, there you go, Casey. You ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Dude, I don't know how many podcasts you've been on. What's it been like so far? 1 minute, 38 seconds in compared to the other ones?
This one is a lot of fun, I must say.
Well, let's do it, dude. If you ain't having fun, you ain't living. So let's jump into this, ladies and gents. Let's ask them the very first question.
What do you do?
As simply as you could explain it to a fifth grader, Casey, what do you do?
That I never thought of it like a fifth grader, but put simply, I build healthy, comfortable, and efficient homes, and I train other contractors on how to do the same.
All right. Healthy, efficient. You know, I get that green vibe going. Are we talking like off the grid completely or just more efficient, comfortable living? Like, break it down for me.
It really depends on what people are looking for. We can go off grid. I can't say we've actually done that because that's definitely an extreme and people don't, you have to sacrifice some things to go off grid until batteries get better. But we really focus a lot on health and comfort. And by default, you end up with an efficient home. So we're more focusing on the occupant health, but at the end of the day, everything we do is custom. So it really depends what our clients want. And I see our role as the person to bring them the information that they need so that they can make a conscious decision. It's not one size fits all. It's here's the information that you need to make your decision, but it's based on whatever your values are, whatever your goals are, whatever you need to accomplish for your family. That's the conversation that we have with our customers.
I know there are a lot of people out there who have a fear of working with contractors. They're going to take a big chunk of money up front. They're not going to show up. They're going to make me do this and that. I'm going to have to, I saw, the Brothers show on HGTV. I don't want to have to swing my own like sledgehammer. Like, walk me through, if I'm a customer and I come to Conscious Builders, what's that experience like?
Well, a lot of people that come to us actually do want to swing the hammer. So
right.
A lot of like our specialty is really in the stuff that you can't see, but the stuff that you feel when you live in a house. And so it's not the stuff that a lot of it's not for pretty pictures. That's why we do a lot of videos. We do a lot of explanations on why we're doing what we're doing and products that we're using and mechanical equipment and so forth. But a lot of customers understand that they can't do that portion. They can't do the envelope of the building, right? The framing, the insulation, the air sealing, the window installations, like all the stuff that keeps the weather out and keeps your home healthy. That's the stuff that's a little bit more difficult and you really need to understand things. And then the clients might want to do their own finishing, partly to save money, partly just to say that they had, put some sweat equity into their own home. I think it's great. I think everyone should build their own home at some point, but also understand what your limitations are, right? It's fun to maybe work on a car, but I'm going to stick to what I'm good at, stick to building houses, and I'll hire somebody else to work on my car. But if I have to do a minor repair, change a tire sort of thing, I can do that as an example.
I remember doing my very first flip and walking into this space of what I thought the experience was going to be like, and then what it was actually like. And I loved my contractors, one of my best friends actually. But while I'm in this space, one thing that I think people need to understand is you're stepping into somebody else's space, right? Like there's certain terminology that contractors speak to each other that the average Joe that walks into that very first design doesn't really understand or know. And this is the technicality that you're talking about, right? When you talk about I forgot what it was called, but certain like title, I think it's title 24 when you're installing windows and certain things that you have to do in a home to make sure that it's that you're right, that it's not going to leak through, or your window's not going to pop out on accident. That's the technical stuff you're talking about that you help customers get through.
To some extent, for us, it's more about the building science, right? It's understanding a house as a system. So there's a lot of contractors, a lot of people doing work that don't really understand that a home is a whole system, and you need to approach the home as a system. When you change one thing, it affects another. So if you, for example, where we live, we got extreme cold, we got extreme heat. We have both sides of it, right? So we need to build for both sides of the weather. Right. And so in doing so, you need to understand how your house changes from season to season, but you also need to understand that most of the time you're indoors and things are closed, so you need fresh air. There's a lot of things. So for example, if somebody wanted to, there's a grant out there and it's like you get $5,000 back if you change your furnace. Okay, that's great. So what happens is they go and change their furnace. The person who comes in, the mechanical guy comes in and says, oh, based on the size of your house, you need a 80,000 BTU furnace or something like that, right? And they say, oh, okay, they don't really know. They're just going to trust the so-called professional that came in. So they put the furnace in. So then what happens is, 2 or 3 years later, maybe they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to change the windows, or I'm going to add some insulation to the house, or whatever it may be. But what happens is that they end up making their house the envelope more efficient. So now you have a furnace that is oversized, that might've been oversized to begin with. The house was never modeled properly. And now they're making it better. So now the furnace continues to become oversized, even more oversized. And then you run into stuff like short cycling, and then you have comfort issues because it's only running for a short period of time. So heat's not getting, so I'm kind of getting into technical, but that's the idea, is like, you need to understand how one thing affects another. And if you don't look at the whole picture or all of the phases of your projects together, you're going to run into potentially health issues that are going to affect how your house performs. And that could lead to all sorts of things.
Man, I don't know why, but this reminds me of politics. Like, you went in trying to do something with a positive intent. Like your intent was good, but it had some unintended consequences. And that's what it sounds like you're talking about when you're sitting with the client. You're going over not just, yes, I need to fix the furnace, but how that affects everything. Like all of a sudden, that furnace, for those of us who don't speak BTUs, it has to do with the cubic measurements of inside of a room that's pumping air, because it's measured in volume. So the BTUs, like you're saying it's too much. So maybe I have an AC unit that's just freezing a room and it needs something smaller or something like that, right? I mean, essentially, yeah, exactly. You're giving me more of an outlook on any project that I'm putting together. Right now, the real estate market is super hot, right? I mean, people are building and making changes to their home. They have equity to work with. So I'm going to ask you the next question. How are you getting customers? Like, how are they finding you compared to the competition?
Well, we do a lot of stuff online. So a lot of people have been following us for a while, and eventually they reach out. So whether they're watching our YouTube videos or listening to our podcast, that's where a lot of our leads are coming from. Referrals are obviously a big one. And then project signs. Those project signs have always been great for us over the years. But right now, the top ones are referrals and that YouTube lead, right? Somebody's been watching us. They reach out. They say, hey, I've been following your videos for 2 years. We're ready to go now, right? And we really want to work with you. So which means it's doing exactly partly what I hoped. It's not the only reason we do it, but it's kind of the initial sales meeting, right? Is whatever your online presence is, right? That's the first impression that people get. And that's why it's so important for businesses to put good content out.
Oh my gosh. Now you're speaking my language, dude. All right. I want to know before and afters. Like, how long ago did you start this, and what was life like at that point beforehand to now after producing content?
So let me go back to the beginning, if that's all right, to when I started construction. So I started construction out of high school, 17 years old, did my apprenticeship, ended up working for a great company, learned a lot for 7 years, eventually went on my own. But when I went on my own, I was 23 at the time. So when you're 23 and you start doing construction work, all you're thinking about is, how do I do a good job and how do I make money, right? That's what you do at that age.
Simple.
And yeah, so I started and it started going pretty well, right? I didn't have a lot of expenses. I was basically living I owned properties, but I lived in a basement apartment with my younger brother. So because I could rent my properties out for more than what I was paying for rent. She wasn't my wife at the time, but my wife was in California going to school, right? So it's like, all I need is a bedroom and a table to eat, right? So it's like
maybe a shower once a week or something, right?
Yeah, so it's good to go. Now, not long after I started, though, my wife, she came back home, so things started to change, and not too long after she came back, so this is probably year 2.5, almost 3 years in business. I ended up going to a Tony Robbins event with my wife, and that event changed our lives. And it led to a whole bunch of other things. But at that event, what it did, it was called UPW, Unleash Your Power Within. If you haven't been to it, I think he's doing them live again. There is online ones now as well. Amazing. Highly recommend it. I'm not going to share too much. You just got to go. I'll just say that. And after that event, though, we came out on fire. And the biggest thing I learned is to ask ourselves quality questions, right? To ask questions, ask, but not just other people, yourself. Why? Why are you doing certain things, right? So that's what I started to think about. Why am I doing business? Why am I in construction? And it wasn't until at another Tony Robbins event, less than a year after that, we found out we were having our first son. So then my brain really started to shift, and I was like, all right, if I'm going to tell this little person, I didn't know if it was a boy or girl at the time, that he or she can do and be whatever they want, I have to do the same. But I also want to make sure I lead by example and leave this world better than when I showed up and do my part. And that's when, the word conscious started to come into focus. My wife and I started something called the Conscious Living Podcast. We got dipped our toes in that. We did it for a while, actually. My wife ended up taking that over. I got too busy with the construction side. And that's when the Conscious Builder started to come into play. So it was a whole kind of vision around the word conscious, because conscious is really a state of awareness. And we just think that's so important, because so many people are going through life unconsciously, not realizing it, right? They're just on autopilot, right? And they're not realizing what they're doing and what their habits are and if they're serving them or not. And obviously I'm in construction, but I love to talk about business and mindset and all that, because owning a business is all about, it's 80% mindset. But I wanted to bring that consciousness to construction so people could make conscious decisions, because the home is the biggest investment or asset that anybody's ever going to own. And most of them are living in homes that are hurting them and harming their health and their family's health, and they don't even know it. And that's when everything started to shift for us.
Oh, dude, such a powerful story, dude. The fact that you literally went and developed a lifestyle for yourself. Like I talk about this often, is living your life by design, not by default, right? I heard it on a speech while I was on a run, on one of those Mulligan Brothers compilation speeches. I heard somebody say it and it stuck with me. Living life by design instead of by default. That's what you're doing. Like, you're asking yourself these why questions on a regular basis. I do it when I journal, and at times I even, looking at it, I'm like, it's so repetitive. I keep almost saying the same thing to myself over and over again. And then I'm listening to somebody's story on the podcast, or I'm creating a piece of content, and it kind of clicks, like, oh, wait. Oh, this is a little piece of my puzzle, right? This is a little bit of my story that I can kind of put together. It becomes a little more conscious the way you're describing it. How powerful is that for your business to have that North Star, or for you as a family unit to have that North Star?
Yeah, absolutely. And to caveat that a little bit, just because, we're living, you and I are living our lives by design, it doesn't mean that we're living in a constant state of inspiration and everything is rainbows and unicorns and butterflies all the time. Right. So I think that's the other thing. Like, being in business is tough, especially in construction. It's not easy. And it's no wonder that, whatever the stat is, like something like 97% of businesses go out of business. It's because it's hard, especially with COVID. Like, it's where we're living right now. I'll get into it, but the restrictions that are being put on small businesses right now are unbelievable. I don't understand what the government's doing.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
Dude, I feel you on that one, dude. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
Ridiculous
it's not
constraints.
easy. So those are the problems though, but it's like problems like that you can't predict. And you need that North Star that you mentioned, because what are you going to do when, stuff hits the fan? I don't know if we can swear on your show.
Yeah, go for
But
it.
what are you doing? Shit hits the fan, right? And if you don't have that North Star, if you don't have a good reason, if you don't have a purpose, a strong vision for what you're trying to accomplish, you're throw in the towel, right? Why would you tough through it? Like, I was in a lawsuit for 4 years. Why would anybody want to go through that? You know what I mean? Like, it's like those successful people. It's like, yeah, sure. People might look at me like as if I'm a success, but it's like overnight successes are never overnight successes. They're always like 10, 15, 20 years in the making. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm far from where I want to be. And I've already been in business for 12 years at this point. Right. So, or almost 13, I guess, at this point, but anyways.
Dude, I mean, and it happens, you become a little bit more successful, but you also become a bigger target. Like, all of a sudden the target on your back gets a little bit crazier. You start being looked at as even if they're going after, ladies and gents, I mean, you don't have to be a very big business. The fact that you have a general liability policy, which I pray that you have a general liability policy on your company, that's something that people can go after and put you in deficit, and just in court, in lawyer fees alone, just to protect yourself, just to defend yourself. You don't even have to do stuff. It's crazy, the world we live in. All right, I want to know about your ideal client. When you talk about putting yourself out there and in your messaging, and you're putting content out there, you're attracting a specific type of tribe, right? There's a certain type of personality that's coming to you. So
I am looking for qualities beyond the physical.
what is that ideal client?
So because we have a couple different parts of our business, I actually have two. So on the construction side, the homeowners are reaching out to us. The ideal client is somebody who already is sold on the fact that they want a healthier, more comfortable, efficient home, right? I don't want to have to sell somebody. If somebody came to me, like you mentioned, doing a flip or something, somebody coming to me to do a flip doesn't make sense because of what we do, right? We're not, you need somebody who's like cheap and cheerful, can get in and out quickly, and isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg. Like, that's not us. We want people who want to think through their project a little bit more, people who, homeowners who are going to ideally stay in it for long term, because then the stuff that we do makes a lot of sense. If you're planning on selling the house quickly, that's not our type of a client. So I won't get it. Like, we have this all mapped out, but it's like that. We got the income mapped out. We got their values mapped out. We have all this mapped out as our business. But that's kind of a general idea. On the academy side, it's the contractor who's been in business 2, 3, 4 years, younger guy, maybe he's got a family or something, but he knows enough now to know that he doesn't know. It's kind of like where I was, through at my year 3, I'm basically selling to myself, where when you start a business, you think you got everything figured out. And then if you stick with it after 2, 3 years, you do get busy, right? You're good at what you do, you get busy, but then you realize that you need help. And then you realize that, hey, running a business is way different than doing carpentry or doing electrical work or whatever your trade is. So those are the guys that we're targeting on the Conscious Builder Academy side.
I think I heard The Rock say it, or he talks about, in your 20s, you feel like you're invincible. In your 30s, you think you know it all. In your 40s, you realize you didn't know a thing, and you still don't, right? And then in your 50s, you realize the best thing you could have done is ask for help. And having mentors or having people like yourself who have been through the trenches over and over again, who know where to change things, change directions, look at different types of material, whatever it's going to be, like, that is invaluable, right? Like, that's exactly what people want to come to you for, because these are the results that I have. This is what I have as my core values. This is what I present to my clients. This is how I make your life better. If this is you, come with me, right? Let's get this thing started. So if somebody is interested in working with you, all those people are coming your way. What's your sales process, man? Like, what's it look like if somebody wants to get in contact with you?
So on the customer side, like if we're doing a major custom home or something like that, ideally we're right from the start. They're working with us because we like to do what's called an integrated design process. So you have your contractor, you have your designer on board, you have your energy advisor, and then the homeowner. So there's, all 4 people got to be working together right from the start. first we got to go through the details, right? We just want to make sure that we understand what they're going, what they need, make sure we can deliver what they need, make sure that their expectations and their budget are aligned. And assuming everything's aligned, then we can get into the details. Everybody's a little bit different though, right? We're not selling t-shirts here, so you can't just kind of put them into a funnel, right? It's very much a hands-on. Some people I might have multiple conversations with. Some people are already sold and like, we want to work with you. So I can't say that there's a clear-cut process for every single client who comes to us, because there's, one thing, and actually doing a lot of business training is there's like 4 different types of people out there too, right? And it depends, actually it might be 5. And it depends on what they need to sell. Like some people, you tell them and they'll believe it. Some people need to see it to believe it, sort of thing, right? Some people need to be told by somebody else. So there's some people just need to feel it, right? They're more kinesthetic. So you have to like get them to visualize. Some people need to visualize it, right? So there's so many different people that we work with. And then it gets interesting when there's couples too, right? Because then there's a dynamic and so forth, right? So it's a very different process, right? You're not just going to go, some people are willing to sign on the dotted line fairly quickly and build $1.5 million house. Other people are really hesitant for 100,000, right? But they're both, it is what it is, right? And we just have to, my goal is to ultimately figure out what it is that they really need to feel comfortable and then deliver that.
But it starts with the conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And so how can we get a hold of you?
For us, well, we're all over the place. So you can just go to theconsciousbuilder.com, or if you're a contractor, you want to learn from the academy, you can go to consciousbuilderacademy.com. And if you just search The Conscious Builder, we're all over YouTube. Comment on our videos. There's lots of free stuff out there.
I love it. The power of having those types of videos, when somebody's learning something, they drop a comment, that's an instant connection, right? And like you said, it's free. You didn't actually pay for it, but it takes work. You actually have to create the content so that people can engage with you, but it's just a little bit of effort. I mean, how much of it are you documenting versus like creating, as Gary Vee says?
We're doing a little bit of both. I don't know how much of each, but like I got 2 full-time employees who work on our stuff. So it's not free. It's a lot of work. And we're only really starting to see kind of the fruits of our labor and generate some extra income outside of the construction income. So we put a lot of money into what we're doing, but we're not slowing down, right? We've kind of doubled up our game since COVID hit.
That's funny because, Grant Cardone and I have had guests on the show say a lot of the same things. Like, if you have this extra money, what are you doing other than investing in your own brand? Like, if you're not investing in yourself, and that's what we're talking about here. I mean, you're literally, whether it's through paid ads or you get somebody who's helping you create additional content or editing your videos or whatever it is that you're going to do. If you're not investing in yourself, how can you expect to grow your business, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, let's move into towards the end here. So, you have anything to like give away for the academy coming up, or maybe some information on where people can find out about that?
Me? I'm giving away free money.
Double click.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually do have a free course. So if you go to consciousbuilderacademy.com, there is a free course, The 5 Things I Wish I Knew Before I Started My Business. But we also have a great deal on our course on how to, there's a few courses there. You'll see the deals. You'll see the free one. We got a free estimating sheet there. So whatever you need is there. We have another course coming out in April that we will be starting to promote shortly. So you can sign up to if you either sign up for the free course or just sign up to our list, you'll be updated for this. So you can get a pre-sale price. So there's lots of stuff coming.
Dude, you got so many things going on. I mean, 12 years in business, a couple different Tony Robbins retreats, which each one is powerful in and of itself.
I think I've done like 4 or 5 now.
There you go, right? Lots of stuff right there. So you've obviously invested in yourself, learning what it is that fuels you, what it is that keeps you going, especially when the motivation is not there or the inspiration is not there, how you continue to push through. What advice would you give to a new entrepreneur, somebody who's leaving with the great resignation, leaving their W-2 job and then stepping into this space of owning their own business?
Well, first I'd make sure that they could afford to step away from that job before jumping into it. I'm all for taking action, but I'm also, as I've gotten older, has become wiser. I'm very much like jump in, just, say yes and figure it out later, but not everybody can handle that stress, right? I got through it, but I've had a lot of sleepless nights and it's probably why I don't have any hair anymore, but yeah. So I would say the number one thing is to focus on mindset, but you need to take action. There's no shortage of information out there, right? You can read book after book after book, but until you actually go out there and start doing something, you're never actually going to really learn something. Like, how many people do you know who have spent thousands of dollars and, on schooling, but, can't fight their way out of a paper bag sort of thing, right? It's about taking action. It's not about just taking in the information. Information is not power. Action is power. So until you take action, nothing's going to happen. Whatever that action is, just take the first step. Don't worry about 100 steps from now, one step at a time. What do you feel you need to do today? Take that action, focus on that. Tomorrow, there'll be another step. And as long as you keep moving, it's not going to be a straight line. If you look at a map, it's easy to draw a straight line, but you can't see the mountains and the hills and the gullies and the accidents, right? So there's going to be all sorts of that. So it's going to be all over the place, but as long as you're always heading in the right direction, that's what counts.
I gave it a 10. A 10.
I'm right. I give it a 10. All right. Well, for me, it's always been a matter of figuring out the right habits, right? For health is a big one for me. Every morning, whether I want to or not, I get up and I handle my business, right? Running my 6 miles, doing my push-ups, my sit-ups. And it's a standard that I set for myself. It's who I am, an identity I created for myself through a habit. It wasn't that great. I mean, now it's phenomenal, but it didn't start off that way. Same thing with creating content. Same thing with podcasting. Same thing with public speaking. There's certain habits that I put into my daily routine that make me better because I specifically chose this habit to have in my life. What are some of those habits that help you in your everyday life or in your business?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Habits, we are the product of our habits for the most part, right? We're a product of our environment as well. And the one thing, I guess it's kind of two things, but if you start your day in control and with a win and end your day in control, you will live a much more peaceful life, let's say. So on the same way, I have my morning routine because what I've realized is that we can't control anything, right? There's only one thing that we can control, and that's how we act or react in any given situation. Everything else is out of our control. We might think that we can control, we might think we can control our kids or our employees or our sub-trades or whatever it may be, but we have zero control over that stuff. We can influence people, right? We can persuade them in a certain way that serves them and serves us. Hopefully it's not just to serve us and not to serve them, right? But when you start your day in control and start with a win, like working out or something like that, that is so powerful because it sets your brain up for success. And it doesn't matter what happens, you're in a better space. So for me, my routine, same thing with health, is I get up, I do my lemon water. I have a puppy right now. So that kind of throws off my usual morning routine. So he's part of my morning routine now, playing with him, making sure he does his business too. But if the puppy wasn't there, it'd be like lemon water. I read, it could be anything, right? I'm just educating myself with something that I'm interested in at that time. I meditate, I do my workout, and at that point, either I get down, I do a little bit of work. If my wife's up at that point, she does celery juice for us. We do our celery juice, and then I kind of get to work and get in. She takes good care of me. We got our, heavy metal detox smoothie and all that too. And then the rest of my day's off. And then I always end with reading as well. And I make sure I shut down at least half an hour before I go to bed, like shut down the screens, because that's when I can't sleep, staring at a screen for too long. But if anybody has to stare at a screen too long, there is some cool apps out there like Flux. I don't know if people are aware of that, but make sure that you're not staring at blue light so you sleep better. Because the only time I ever get sick is if I don't have sleep. So I always make sure I'm good with like 7 hours, right? 6.5, 7 hours. Weekends I get a little bit more, but sleep is everything. Man,
I feel like I was listening to myself speak right there, dude. You're absolutely right. Water Water, ladies and gentlemen, drink a lot of water. I don't know, man. It's the magic of all life. Like you have a headache, drink water. You're feeling tired, drink water. Like if you're feeling like maybe a cold is coming, drink water. I mean, a lot of water goes a long way. Same with all these other routines that Casey was talking about, because dude, those routines are going to be the things that save you. Casey, you've been a great guest. You're doing some amazing things in construction, very niche and very efficient. It sounds like the way you're coming in and really catering to an individual client and what they're actually looking for. You're solving a problem, which is what successful entrepreneurs do. We at Business Bros are big on creating content, obviously, with advertising and video testimonials. So before you head out, can you let me know what your experience was like on the show?
This was fantastic. I love your energy. I love how you throw in all those extra, keep it interesting, right? Because there's so many talking head things out there, right? And can get boring. So I get it. So that's why we've gotten better at our videos. If you watch our videos that we were doing 4 years ago to now, it's very different. And you guys obviously have a great system. So this is a ton of fun. And I really appreciate what you're doing and what you're putting out there, because this is the environment, right? Create that environment. You are who you surround yourself with. And if people are listening to this, then they're surrounding themselves with successful people that are willing that want to step up their game. And that's what it's all about.
That's it. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to call it a day. Casey, you were a great guest again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you are interested, what area of the country are you in, by the way?
We're in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, you're in the other country, the one above. All right.
Yeah.
So if you guys are in Ottawa, Canada, then you guys want to check this out. Stop by Instagram, _conscious builder, or go to the consciousbuilder.com, theconsciousbuilder.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom. They got all their social links right there. Thanks again, Casey, for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys again mañana. Peace. And we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation. Or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.